Welcome to another episode of the Grinder's Verdict podcast. I'm your host, Grinder. Welcome. So today, as you see by the title, we're going to talk about something that's very, very harmful for the future of not only teenagers, but also, people who are 30 nowadays and people who are older, because this could have some form of snowball effect, if you will. Because if there's no stopping this, if there's no trying to get these people down to earth, they will continue to do this, and it's only going to get worse in my opinion. But obviously we're talking about the glorification of disorders nowadays, and as you're probably aware, because of the popularity of TikTok, because of people on YouTube reacting to all this kind of stuff, it's something that is very prominent nowadays to basically pretend like you have some form of illness, usually mental illnesses, because it's not easy to fake, the rest of the illnesses. It's not easy to fake an actual sort of physical illness, if you will. So people are just abusing the fact of, the fact that mental illness is to an extent becoming more and more accepted. Back in the day, we used to hide anything. No one was mentally ill, even though a lot of people were, but it used to be sort of a taboo thing to be mentally ill. But because this has become the norm, because this has become widely accepted across the world, a lot of people are now abusing this shit. I wanted to touch on a couple of topics, or touch a couple of points here, and provide my opinion and my insight on this. So first and foremost, I'm just going to say that you can't self-diagnose, as you lack the academic and you lack the medical skills. Not only that, but you're also biased. So you don't have the years of training, the years of studying medical science. You don't have the studies of psychiatry, of therapy, of all those kinds of things. You don't have any of that. Most of you who tend to do this kind of stuff are basically teenagers. You barely even finished school. How the fuck do you think you can diagnose yourself with whatever it is? You don't even have life experience in the first place. How do you think you can detect something that is so hard to detect, even for psychiatrists who literally study this kind of stuff years upon years, who have diagnosed hundreds, thousands of people? They even themselves struggle with diagnosing sometimes, because it takes time to determine the reality of the illness that is going on in somebody's mind. It's not something that you can, the usual medical science where you take blood, you pee into a cup, you do some testing, and there you go. You have it available, and it tells whatever it is that people have. Unfortunately, there's still, maybe someday there will be technology that determines whatever illness is going on inside of your mind. But as far as we know, right now, this doesn't exist. So it's all up to trial and error. Someone who suffers from something, I can explain how I got diagnosed, for example. I went to the psychiatrist. I made a little bit of a list explaining things I felt, things I was going through, past things I went through as could be results of traumatic experiences. And I explained this, and I got diagnosed. But if I could go on the internet and I could find tons of things, if I was going to self-diagnose myself, I diagnosed myself with ADHD, fucking dysthymia, and all kinds of shit. But the actual diagnosis I've got from an actual professional in the mental health industry was that I got anxiety, depression, and OCD. That's what I've got. It's the diagnosis I've got. Now, maybe consulting another professional, maybe it would be different. Maybe sometimes the thing is, they're going to be basically, the diagnosis is going to be a result of what you tell them. And then what you tell them becomes sort of it's kind of like they go through what they know about the bunch of diseases and shit that exist, or disorders that exist, and they make their assessment. That's how it works. Again, it's not like you can pee into a cup and, oh, you got anxiety. So that being said, you cannot self-diagnose because you don't have the academic skills and you don't have the medical skills, and you're going to be biased as fuck, because if you're diagnosing yourself, it's probably because you want that to be the case. Now, moving on to the next point I've got here. You're not special, and if you want to be special, you should develop some skills that will make you stand out, okay? Because just existing should not be the motive for being special, as everyone and everything would be special, therefore going against the very definition of special. If everyone in the world, everything, objects, trees, literally everything that is inanimate and, sentient and living and breathing and shit like that, a tree is it's a plant, but it's a living thing. It breathes and stuff. So it would be part of the everything. And everyone, in terms of people, if everything and everyone was special, how would you determine yourself to be special? Because you wouldn't. And if you want to be special just purely by existing, then that means that no one is, like, everyone is special, right? So no one would be special in the result of that. It's absolutely ludicrous, man, how people come up with this kind of shit. If you really want to be special, what I would recommend you to do is find a hobby, develop your skills at that hobby, and maybe you become special, because then people will have something to look up to as a form of inspiration, as a form of motivation, because maybe they then want to be as good as you are. Do you like drawing? Well, become a really good artist. Become really good at drawing. It's clearly obvious that drawing is a skill for the most part. Of course, you have to have creativity and all that kind of stuff, but it's mostly a skill that you need to develop. You need to practice. The more practice you put into it, the better you become. Same thing with voice acting. Same thing with playing video games. Same thing with literally everything. Everything is a skill you develop over time. It's not like it's someone's born a fantastic artist. They might have some ease at becoming a better artist than other people, but no one's born a specific thing. No one's born to be an artist. No one's born to be a musician, okay? So if you want to be special, if you want to be recognized for more than just existing, find a hobby, find something you love, even jobs, even work, do something that you truly love doing. And if you truly love doing something, you will become the very best you could possibly become at that specific thing. So if you like electricity, for example, you probably will become the very best electrician you could possibly be. So that's a really good thing, because people will look up to you, and then you're going to teach them, you're going to teach the new people coming over, and it's just overall something that's going to be seen as, like, skillful, something that is recognized. And that's essentially what you want, because no one is going to be recognized for simply existing. And I also want to say that having a personality is also something that comes with practice. You're not born someone with a fantastic personality. You need to develop your personality. It's something that comes along with a lot of, surrounding things, watching art or watching creative stuff, listening to music, communicating, and all of those things. It develops your personality. So if you want to have a nice, interesting personality, go along, practice, talk to yourself, do something like that. Eventually, you'll get to the point you want to be in. So moving on, most people who want to be mentally ill, they just don't understand the real implications of being mentally ill, as most of them are either unemployed or they never had a job in the first place. So to provide you with a practical example, on an appointment with my psychiatrist once, I asked him if I could get some sort of confirmation of my mental illness, as I thought this could maybe invoke some pity for the employment. And I was told by the psychiatrist, and rightfully so, that being mentally ill doesn't grant you a job. And if you think about it, it actually makes sense, because it's preferred to employ someone who can properly do their work without any sort of liability, because it's more profitable. Now, everyone is going to be stressed. Everyone is going to be a victim of, something here or there. Life exists. Life isn't fair. Relationships sometimes go down the drain. Whatever it might be, everyone goes through problems. Everyone goes through bullshit in life. But it's probably easier to correct this kind of stuff. It's probably easier for someone who's not necessarily mentally ill, okay, to move along than it is for someone who's diagnosed with some sort of mental illness, because the person with mental illness could have breakdowns easily, or they could, whatever it might be. There's tons of examples, but this person is probably going to be a liability compared to someone who doesn't have any of this stuff, who has never been diagnosed. I mean, again, that could play a role in there, but it's exactly why my psychiatrist told me that even though I was diagnosed, I shouldn't really talk about it. I shouldn't use it as sort of like invoking pity to be granted a job, because that's not going to happen. So a lot of these people that are pursuing this path of, oh, I'm mentally ill, please, give me everything and shit, they're probably either unemployed, they probably have a really hard time grasping onto the fact that getting a job is hard, and hold on, let me rephrase all of that shit. And most of them are teenagers who are still sort of like going through life, and they've never had a job. So they don't understand that not just considering yourself, but wanting to be mentally ill is not something that people do. As a matter of fact, it's part of the next point, which is most people who are in fact mentally ill, they don't want to be mentally ill. It's not something that's fun. It's not entertaining. It's something that heavily hinders your ability to live life. It's a result of traumatic experiences, and no one likes traumatic experiences, because if you do, you're probably probably a masochist. And that's where it comes down to, because most people, they just want to live a normal life. They just want to, of course there's societal standards and shit, which we kind of are drifting away from in a little bit, or in a way, because people are finding that there's money to be made through other methods other than working. But in reality, the money still has to sort of go through. The difference is that way back in the day, we still had to work anyways, because the money had to sort of get in there. So unless the fiat money we use in our everyday life nowadays becomes obsolete, and something like crypto becomes a new thing, and that's what really gives things value, and that's what we're going to trade for things, it's going to remain the same thing. I'm probably being very confusing right now, but inside of my mind, this is all making sense. However, that's besides the point. I just think if you're one of these people that wants to pretend like you have disorders, if you think you can self-diagnose yourself, you're delusion. You cannot diagnose yourself. It's impossible. You don't have the skills. Most of them are teenagers who haven't even finished school, like normal school grades. They haven't even finished this. How do you think you have the understanding to diagnose yourself with something that is incredibly difficult to do, even for the professionals themselves? It's not. You don't have those skills. You're living in a world where the internet makes you think like you're smart, but in reality, you're just as ignorant as everybody else. But I guess ignorance is bliss. So there's always that. Anywho, I think that's going to do it. I hope this shit eventually ends. I hope eventually these people are going to grow up, right? These people are going to grow up, and they're either trying to pursue a lifestyle of content creation, and that's why they're trying to get popular by any means necessary, even if it's through pretending to be fucking mentally ill, which it's wrong as fuck. But I honestly have seen all kinds of shit for people to gain popularity. I've never done it. I don't think I ever will do it. But there's people who literally made videos back in the day, and they shove a thumbnail with a woman, or with her breasts, not completely exposed, but boobs bring views. That's basically the point I'm trying to make here. Boobs bring views, and so that's what people pursue for gaining views and shit, which is not as bad. It's clickbaity. It's still kind of scummy, but it's not as bad as pretending to be mentally ill, because it's one point I actually missed here. When you pretend to be mentally ill without being diagnosed by a professional, and you're just pretending because whatever reason there might be, you probably want to be special, you probably want recognition just for existing. You're actually you're heavily disrespecting the people that actually suffer from these things. You're disrespecting me. You're disrespecting people who suffer from Tourette's. You're disrespecting people who suffer from DID. You're disrespecting people that are autistic, disrespecting people who suffer from all these kinds of things. And that's not cool. That's actually really fucking wrong. And it's really bad. Okay. So get a grasp, or get a grip, however it's said, and try to be a better person. Like I said, develop some skills. Find a hobby you love. Draw. Practice drawing. If you don't have money to buy instruments, there's applications out there, man. Nowadays you don't even need a freaking guitar to learn guitar. You get an application on your phone, and you start learning like the theory of it and stuff. And eventually, when you can afford a guitar, when you can get a guitar, boom, most of it. It's actually easier to do it this way than grabbing a guitar. And when you have a guitar in your hands, all you want to do is play it, and you want to be the best at it, but you're not going to be able to, because you have to go through the process of learning how to be good at it. So that's going to be it, though. Thank you very much for listening. I just want to say that if you want to find more stuff by me, if you want to catch me live, I live stream on Twitch at Eldritch Spig, and Eldritch Spig on Twitter as well. Of course, there's also the Grinders Verdict Twitter page. It's Grinders Verdict, I'm pretty sure. If you want to check the website for episodes and all kinds of things, and I'm pretty sure I put my Twitch on there as well. So just check grindersverdict.com, and you'll get all the info necessary for you to watch my live stream or something like that. So thank you very much for listening. Please, if you have kids that are going through this kind of shit, if they're doing this kind of shit, try to educate them. Try to teach them that they need some skills to be recognized, to be seen as an inspiration, to be seen as someone who's valuable. And it's not just by pretending, it's not just by role playing that they're going to be seen as like fantastic human beings or some shit like. So thank you very much for listening. Have a great rest of your day, night, week, month, year. Have a great 2022. As a matter of fact, I think this is my first episode for 2022. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.